Okay. Ecology, overpopulation, and economic development. Approximately 10,000 years ago, when the first permanent human settlements emerged after about 2 million years of hunter-gatherer society, the total population of the Earth was only about 5 million people. By the beginning of the 19th century, it had increased to 1 billion. During this time, the human species had a negligible influence on the ecology of the planet as a whole. By the beginning of the 20th century, however, the population stood at 2 billion. By 1950, it was 2.5 billion, and in the next 50 years, it's more than doubled to 6.1 billion, reaching 7 billion by October 2011. By 2050, the population is projected to reach 10.6 billion. The majority of this growth will be in less developed countries, which will be home to more than 86% of the world's people in 2050. Today, as a direct result of population growth, the impact of human activities on the world's ecology is considerable. In the future, the damage may be catastrophic. Studies have consistently shown that rapid population growth represents a massive threat to the environment at local, national, and global levels. In areas of Nepal, for example, the pressure of overpopulation and poverty has forced farmers into the hills. There they cut down vegetation to provide wood for heating and construction and food for their animals. Then they begin to raise crops on the cleared land. However, within a short time, the fertile topsoil is eroded by rain because it is now without the protection that has been offered by the natural vegetation of the area. Soon, the hillside fields become unproductive, incapable of supporting the people who have settled there. The farmers then move on and begin the same destructive process again. The result can be devastating. In 2011, 60% of Nepal's population of 30 million did not have enough to eat. Children are particularly affected, accounting for 39% of this undernourished population. Elsewhere in the world's tropical zone, nations like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Brazil have been cutting down or burning their hardwood forests faster than they can be replaced. The hardwood forests are a valuable resource that provides much needed employment and earns money from exports. In the 50 years between 1990 and 2005, Indonesia cut down almost 25% of its forests. Malaysia cut down 6.5%. By 2010, Brazil, in an attempt to relieve poverty and create economic growth, has destroyed Earth by burning at least 141,046 square miles, 365 and 307 365,307 square kilometers, or 9% of the Amazon rainforest. These were mainly to support cattle ranching, subsistence farming, that is, growing only enough food to feed their family, feed farmers' family, and some commercial woodcutting. Figures for 2011 was not encouraging. Deforestation in Brazil during March and April totaled 228 square miles, equally to 593 square kilometers, and represented a 473% increase over the same 2 months in 2010. As in the case of Nepal, while deforestation provides short-term economic gains, the land quickly becomes unsuitable for traditional farming as deforestation interrupts the recycling of natural nutrients to the land. The destruction of the forest has global consequences. The burning of the forest releases large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, emissions that are contributing to potentially disastrous change in global climate patterns. Next, as the forests vanish, so too does their diverse plant and animal life. Thus, an enormous source of scientific knowledge and an equally vast source of natural material with potential for economic benefit to the world are lost. Ecological damage caused by overpopulation, deforestation, and unwise development is a global problem requiring immediate action. However, there is no single solution. One remedy to this crisis is to control population growth, and many countries have already taken steps to do this. China introduced its one-child policies in 1979, a policy that has brought the fertility rate down to 1.8 children per woman. India began an intensive family planning program in 1994, which has reduced the average birth rate from 6 to fewer than 3 children per woman. Significant reductions in the birth rate have also been experienced by other countries, which have similar family planning programs, including South Korea, Thailand, Mexico, and Tunisia. Reducing birth rates have relieved pressure on overpopulated areas. However, it is also part of the solution for two critical reasons. First, a large proportion of the populations of developing countries consists of children. As a result, the world's population will inevitably increase when their children reach adulthood and start their own families. Even if birth control becomes universally accessible and acceptable, the world's population will still increase to 10.6 billion people by 2050. Second, sharply decreasing birth rates can have a negative economic effects on a nation. The Chinese government, for example, is currently considering allow some families to have 2 children because its population is now unbalanced. As a result of its strict one-child policy, there are not enough adults of working age to support their elders. Therefore, controlling population growth is, by itself, not enough to counter the ecological damage brought on by overpopulation. According to most experts, the second essential component of a solution to the overpopulation environment problem is sustainable and environmentally friendly social and economic development. The history of the industrial world clearly shows that birth rates fall and stabilize at lower levels when the standard of living increase. Prosperity, educational and career opportunities, adequate health care, and relative financial security for people in their old age are all factors that have contributed to the low, stable birth rate of the relatively affluent nation. For this reason, most experts believe that the birth rates of the less developed nations will decline as their population experience the benefits of economic development. Therefore, experts argue more emphasis should be placed on helping developing countries become economically stronger. The situation today, however, is more complex than this apparently simple solution would suggest. A major complication is that one essential component of the solution, namely economic development, is also one cause of the problem. But rates will not fall without economic development. However, most of the danger to the world ecological system comes directly from the attempt by nations to pursue economic development. Emerging economies, for example, are typically reliant on fossil fuels, particularly coal. Coal emits CO2, which is widely seen as a major factor responsible for an increase in global temperatures. China, for instance, has fueled much of its rapid economic growth by the use of coal and now is responsible for 25% of global emissions. In 2010, CO2 emissions worldwide grew at the fastest rate in 4 decades. In order to limit ecological and environmental damage caused by such practices as deforestation and coal burning, developing nations have to forego the same strategy for economic development that brought today's developed world its prosperities, that is, the exploitation of natural resources with little tool for the future. The pursuit of economic development has led to the loss of 80% of European forests and 75% of the forests covering North America. Today, North Americans and Europeans are asking people of developing nations to cases doing what themselves did for centuries. This seems like an unfair burden on developing countries. All nations have the right to pursue the goal of economic development for their people. Nevertheless, developing countries are currently pursuing traditional development policies that are exhausting their own ecological resources and are causing serious, sometimes irreversible damage to the world ecology. The developed world, which includes the planet's most prosperous nations, has an obligation to respond to this crisis. They must provide leadership by establishing a new paradigm of economic development. They can do this by modifying many of their own unsustainable policy and practice and by offering economic and technical assistance to the less developed countries that are willing to do the same. In this way, both developed and less developed countries will be supporting and not undermining global efforts to encourage sustainable, environmentally friendly development. Economic development can cause damage to the environment. Well, finish.